Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner Dagenais. I help gamers overcome their weed addictions. Very happy here to have Nathan on the podcast. He's a good friend of mine, another self-sabotage coach. And we just really vibe together really well. And I just always love speaking with you, Nathan, and just kind of going over our own experiences and sharing these things that have changed our lives. And very confident that we can help other people do the same. So that's why we want to go out here and share these talks. Today we're going to be talking about education, our experience with education system. Be interesting to hear what your experience was in Australia compared to mine here in America. Probably somewhat similar, I'd have to imagine. And then kind of we'll go into just how we've like renewed our love of learning again, because at least for me, I know, and I think we talked about this before the podcast a little bit, that just the education system just kills your love of learning. Like it doesn't foster that passion for learning that really should be there as kids and as adults. Like people think, oh, you kids love learning, and then all of a sudden you get to a certain age, it's just done. No, that's not really the way it should be. And the more I read about other people's experiences not being forced into a school system, the more I realize that that's not the way it is. Right? We've just been conditioned to believe that is the way it is because that's what everyone else does, and that's a really pretty common thing with self-sabotage, right? Because everyone else is doing something, you think it's normal, but oftentimes those things are actually sabotaging our best selves and keeping us from our best life. So I think it's really important that we talk about the education system, because I think it's a big problem within a lot of people's lives, and it's causing a lot of problems for future generations going forward. I think that's something we need to put an end to and make some changes. What do you think, Nathan?
I think you're spot on, and thanks for the introduction. It's always nice to come on and talk to you, Tanner. We make sure we do it more often, because when we come together, it's really good. It's good vibes. I'm very grateful that I did the program to be able to meet you. But yeah, I had an interesting experience inside the school system, which I'm looking forward to sharing. I think it's like what we've come to realize is that you're programmed inside there to do one thing, to be a plumber, or an electrician, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, one thing. And you're often programmed to build someone else's dream. Like there's a reason why they don't teach you to build a resume. There's a reason why they teach you to build a resume and not to build a business plan for yourself. You're working, it's programming you to do stuff you don't necessarily like. Like as a child, we all have dreams and ambitions of being something great. You go in the school system and it's like, well, you need to be this to earn this. You need to do this to then do that. You need to have a family and a house by a certain age. It's like, whoa. We're not designed to do one thing. Like we're creative beings. We're not designed humanly to do one thing for our entire lives and say, this is what I did, but it was one thing. We can do and be multiple things, like you and I. I'm a blogger. I'm a podcast host. I'm a coach. I'm a life coach, life coach, mentor, brother, son. Like we're programmed to do one thing, but it's like when I figured out and learned, which we'll delve into in a minute when we talk about our personal experiences, when I figured out that I could do and be multiple things and not just do one thing, I was like, oh my God, what else can I do? What else can I be? That program's so deep to just be one thing, but it's like you can figure out or reprogram, like what we teach our clients, that you can do and be anything you want to be. And it's going back to that child that imagined that and thought that was like, I can be anything I want to be. But then you get shunned into the school system and they're like, little Johnny needs to be a doctor. Little Johnny needs to have a university education to earn this sort of money to then have this. It's like, what if little Johnny didn't want to be a doctor? What if little Johnny wanted to be a superhero? What if little Johnny wanted to be something else, right? What if he wanted to be something else and want to be a hero? Well, the school system said, you can't be a hero, but we'll give you a version of a hero that will be good for society, and you'll get your little rewards through payment and telling lies as truth and all that sort of stuff. We'll give you a fabrication of that, so we'll paint the picture of what a hero looks like, and then you can go and be a doctor and go and be these things where you're not. Unfortunately, some of the doctors out there aren't necessarily heroes, people. But I'm sure most people are aware of that are listening right now. It's like these people aren't heroes. But it's like an inversion of what a hero is supposed to be. Like, look what they've done the last 3 years. They painted out these people as great beings of society. They know the science, and we don't. It's like, well, the school system has done this. If it wasn't for the school system, the last 3 years wouldn't have happened. If it wasn't for the school system, none of this stuff in the world would happen. But it only happens because there is a system here that's taken everything natural and has turned us against anything natural and given us a fake feel-good emotional system of control. That's the system. Mm-hmm. It's a control-based system where you get rewarded for living lies as truth instead of doing what's right. You're programmed to be like, this is what's right, when it's not morally or ethically right. It's like it's an inversion of what's real and what's natural. And for anyone listening out there, getting back in nature and getting in the ocean, and that's natural. This technology, this stuff is a representation of that. It's not real. If you're watching on Rumble and YouTube, I've got a phone in my hand. This is not real. It is a fabricated inversion of what's real. And it's all started. It can always be traced back to the school system. And Tanner, I don't know what your clients come to you with, but a lot of clients that come to me have had someone inside that system tell them that they can't do something. And they carry that around for their entire lives. And the moment that I tell them that they can do something, and we go back to that moment where they were told that, it's the most beautiful thing, because they've realized within how powerful they are and how strong they are. And we're about to delve into our personal experiences where I went back to my childhood and I was like, that kid was fucking powerful. And the school system programmed him to be something that he shouldn't, that I wasn't supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Went deep, but that's just how I see it. What are your thoughts? Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. It does. It programs you to be something that you don't necessarily want to be, right?
Something that you need to be to have this status or to have this shiny thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they tell you what the right answer is. They tell you if you try to give an answer that is technically right, but you do it a different way, wrong.
Yeah, and you're taught not to question anything either. This is the information that we've been teachers like. This is the information we've been taught at different things during our schooling, and this is it. It's like, well, what if? And then the little Johnny that questions it. Oh, no. You've got ADHD. You've got autism. How dare you question authority? Sit down. Shh. Yep. While we're in control here, you be quiet. And that is powerful for a child too. Like, another story is like when I have a client and we go back to the school system, we always go back to the school system. That little kid was told to be quiet. So when that little child's told to be quiet, they're in fear of ever speaking up, speaking their truth, speaking for themselves, speaking in public. It's because usually a teacher told them to be quiet. And you carry that around. You unconsciously carry that around. And when a moment comes up when you need to speak or you need to say something, you freeze. You're in that fight, flight, freeze. You're in the freeze. You just freeze. Why? Because that little child inside the school system was told to shush. Or that little child at home was told to shush. Shut up. Don't express your feelings. Don't say anything. Go along, get along. It's like we go back to that child and say, hey, you can speak. And my God, you can speak. And it's like they realize that and they're like, oh, they start speaking some stuff and they're like, okay, it's like you regain that confidence to go and do that. But it's always back to the school system. Always.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think you're spot on. It's definitely like a power struggle is what they've created, right? Where the
Yes.
kids, they don't hold any power in the school system. You can't go to the bathroom when you want. You can't learn what you want. You can't go outside when you want.
Got to
You know,
ask for permission.
and you can get denied, right? Like I remember times when I had to go to the bathroom. No, you have to wait, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait till little Johnny comes back and then you can go. It's like, because if you look at the last 3 years, people were asking permission to be free. They were asking to take the mask off. They were asking to have people over. They were asking and begging and pleading with the government. Oh, daddy government, can you please give us some freedom? It's because they're back in that school system as that child going, can I go to the toilet, miss? Can I get a drink, miss? It's like, you can get a drink whenever you want to get a drink. When I was in the school system for the probably 2 months that I was there, I was like, go to the toilet. Go get a drink. I don't care how many kids leave the room. Got in trouble for it, but I was like, I don't care. Like, if you need to go to the toilet, go to the toilet. But make sure you come back. Otherwise I'll get in trouble. But it's like, it's like they're programming to ask permission to be free. And then when the government come in with all their stuff, it's like, oh, can we be free now? Come on. It's like they haven't taken that passage to be like, no, well, I'll be free and I'll live the life I want and turn my back on what you're doing and go over here and build this life. But because the school system programs you to ask permission, to ask this, ask that, it's like we're just a society full of people asking permission to do stuff. It's like, just go and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what they want, right? They want you to be programmed to say, well, that's the third authority figure. I have to ask for permission. I have to see what they do and follow their lead, right? That's exactly what school is about. You follow the teacher's lead. You do what they want to teach, right? You do, and a lot of times the teachers don't even have the authority to deviate from the learning schedule that they have set. And who sets that learning schedule, right? Right? Who sets it? That's a good question to think about. Who is the one who's telling everyone, all the teachers, to teach what they're teaching? I want to say I know the answer off the top of my head, but right now it's not coming to me. But I think I read it in this book, and it's not something that I would it's not who I'd want to be teaching my kids, right? At the end of the day, I think it's important to talk about how like kids are supposed to be learning from their parents the majority of the time, and we've changed this. Well, so not we, society has changed this. The system has changed this over time. Like, if you look back in time, there used to be a situation where you could choose to go to school if you wanted to. You could send your child to school for a week, for a couple of weeks. They didn't have to be schooled. We're now in a forced schooling system, or you have to prove that you're homeschooling. Well, in some states, you have ability to do what you want to do. So it depends on what state you're in. At least in America.
You're talking, America. Yeah.
In Australia too. How's it in Australia with that?
I'm not really sure because I don't have children, but when I was in the system, it's like kids were just homeschooled. It wasn't really a mandatory. I don't want to trigger anyone's first saying, man, it wasn't really a mandatory thing. But you had to have jabs though to be like in childcare and stuff. So if your kid wasn't taking needles, then you weren't allowed to be in the system as a like a daycare thing. But it's like that system wants you to hand your kids away. So it's like you're going to hand your kid away. It's like they need society now is like both parents are at work. So you're handing your child away to be raised by the state. And that's not natural either. Like the natural process is like the parents raise that child. We used to, many, many moons ago, we used to do home births and stuff. Like people were probably listening, what's a home birth? Well, it's a natural birth.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about natural schooling, but there's natural birthing as well. You don't have to be in a hospital screaming the house down and giving birth. Birthing a child, you can be very relaxed doing it. Like you see in the movies, every single movie TV show, when they're giving birth, they're screaming. They're in pain. So people are programmed that that's how we give birth. It's not a painful thing. I know I'm not a woman, but natural birthing, something if a woman's listening, is something that's completely. I was looking at it the other week. I'm like, wow, wait, like, even that's a lie. Like And you can see it in the movies, like every movie, TV show, someone's giving birth, they're like screaming the house down and all sorts of stuff. I know it's not about the school system, but it's like they've taken everything natural and said, here you go. It's like everything's fear, like giving birth's fear, school's fear, everything's just fear. It's a fear-based control grid. And as soon as we all can accept that and realize it, that it's fear-based, and we can turn our back on it and come into a place of stillness and wholeness and love, it's like we're not in that fear-based control state. So therefore we can create and do things that are beyond our wildest dreams. But it all starts in the school system. Every single ailment or any single emotional thing, it's like there's a child there that was told he couldn't do this, couldn't do that, couldn't be this, couldn't be that. And it's like that is the deepest emotional scarring I found. And that's in like people our age, man. It's so deep. So deep.
I mean, even people older than us,
carrying
right? Like 60s,
that around
70s.
unconsciously. Yeah. Imagine, just imagine this right now, that you're in your 60s and 70s and you've carried that around for so long. Like, of course you're going to have all these physical ailments. Of course you're going to have cancer. You've carried that emotional bag, trauma, whatever it is, around for so long, and it's stuck in your body and it's unconsciously stuck there. So of course you're going to have all these ailments. But if you can go back to that moment in time where you were told that you couldn't do something, that's a powerful thing. Quite often you cry, which is good. Crying's great. But if you can go back to that moment and just let that go, but forgive yourself too, it's going to go away. Like they put the belief too. It's like they put the fear in about cancer. Everyone's in fear for getting cancer. It's like that starts in the school system too. Well, they do. They lather you in sunscreen before you go outside and put a hat on. It's like they're actually giving the kids what's going on right now. They're actually giving the kids. It's shocking, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the school system does, right? They put you in it knowing that you're going to be going away from the people you love the most, to be doing something you don't want to be doing for the majority of the day. Yep. Then they started giving you homework. So even when you're at home, you can't enjoy and do what you want to do. You have to be forced to do the homework. And then look, people grow up and then they take 9 to 5 jobs that they hate. And it's the same thing as school, right? They're in that same time frame, go in day out, day in, same routine, same thing. They're feeling frustrated with life. And people think it's normal because they've experienced the same exact thing in school, right? You're another worker bee in the machine. You're another cog in the wheel. And that's really what it is.
Doing what's right.
Yep.
Afraid to be wrong.
Yep.
Because at school, if you're wrong, then you're naughty and you've got issues, you know?
A group of people pleasers, right?
Yep.
So yeah, let's talk about our experiences here. So what was your, start. What was your experience that got you?
Well, I was
triggered, sort of was the trauma? What happened?
I was a sort of normal everyday child, right? I had it, and a normal everyday child in my eyes is not how people listening to this are programmed to believe that there's a normal everyday child. All right. I had imaginary friends. I had imaginative thoughts. I had hopes. I had dreams. Right. I set foot in the school system, and every single one I had was crushed in an instant. So I'll take you back to a grade prep. So over here in Australia, we have the first year of school is called grade prep, preparatory. I'll take you back to that prep child. So when I was a child, I used to write stories. I used to write stuff about being a hero. Like I loved the Essendon Football Club as a child. A lot of Aussies will know who that football club is. And I idolized James Hird, football player. I idolized that guy. And he was like my hero as a child. So I was already in that state of not being a hero myself, but I used to write about him kicking goals after the siren. I used to write about like me doing it. I used to write like stories about me taking the big mark at the end, and then the siren's about to go, and then the siren goes, and I've got the ball in my hand. There's 90,000 screaming fans, and I've kicked the goal as the hero. You know, everyone's clear, jumping, cheering, and that's what I used to write about all the time. I used to love writing about being the hero. It's like I had a dream to be a hero. And then I remember in the classroom, it was a parent-teacher interview, I think it was, and I'm sitting on the floor just doing some Lego or playing with blocks or something, and I obviously heard the teacher because I went back to it. Teachers like mum and dad, they're like, oh, we don't want Nathan writing about this stuff anymore. We don't want him writing about being the hero and footy stories and fantasy stories. I used to write fantasy stories about being like having superpowers and stuff. I've still got those books. Anyway, I heard that and that crushed me because it's like, well, my writing, what I'm writing, that's not worthy. It's not enough. It's like that crushed everything I had and I didn't even realize it did because I just started writing about what everyone else was writing about, like information reports and all that sort of stuff. I sort of went back into the system. It sort of like subconsciously crushed me because when I went back to that moment, it fucking crushed me. So that was the first thing. And when I went back to that child, I often tell my clients, you can reparent the child, and I take them back there in a meditative state. And I went back into a meditative state to that child that was overhearing that. And I stood before him and said, Nath, that's one person's view and perception of what you can be. You don't have to carry that around anymore. I love you. I hear you. I acknowledge you. You're loved. You can rewrite your story. And it's like all of that drive, the creative energy, the imagination, everything I was writing about, it clicked back on. And then I was like, I can write about anything. And I don't really care what people think about it. It's like, because I went back to a child that cared what other people thought. I'm like, I can actually write about whatever I want. So I was like, okay, how can I help people? So I was like, all right, I'm going to write a book. And I wrote that book in 6 weeks. It's going to be published soon. Breaking Free, it's called. A Teens and Young Adults Guide to Identifying their addictions and overcoming them. I wrote that book in 6 weeks. Why? Because that child was validated. He was heard. He was seen. He was acknowledged. He was appreciated. And he was told that he can be and do upon multiple things. That ignited like just the passion, the drive, the creative energy. It's like that child's validated. That child's heard. That child's appreciated. And it was just one person's perception of what I can be. But I carried that around for 27 years. And I'm laying on a table and I'm like, oh my God. I'm crying. I'm like, I can be anything. Like that child, I was that child. It's like, I can be anything. But the school system just like crushed my hopes and dreams. And it's crushed so many others. I wanted to be a hero. Well, that child is living that dream by speaking about this. That's the deepest I'll go. But there was another child there that was in fear of what people thought. I was in that free state when I spoke about before. That was me. When I was at uni, I used to not do the work. So that's a bit like, if we're in a group, I just wouldn't do the work. I was like the lazy guy, and then we just do it. And I'll be like, oh, I don't know what we're talking about. But that was because I didn't think that my message was worthy and valid and that people were going to listen. So when I went back to that child in school again, that child that was told, I was just in fear of it because I didn't believe that my message was worthy, but it was because of that writing story I just told you. It's like, well, if that teacher doesn't believe that my story is worthy, then what's the point of me speaking then? I can't write, so I can't speak. So I just like was always nervous, always froze, always stuttered. If you go back and listen to this podcast again, people out there listening, I have not stuttered once. I can actually talk confidently, clearly, and slowly. Why? Because that child is not afraid to speak up anymore. If you go back and listen to my very first few podcasts, there was a bit of stuttering there. There's a bit of nervous energy as well. But it's like I can sit comfortably now, interview someone, not stutter. I can just talk confidently, clearly, slowly. I can pause. It's just a really powerful thing when you go back to that moment in time. And as we always say, Tanner, the subconscious remembers everything and remembers these little things too. And if you can go back there and reparent that child, which we can help you do, it can set you off on the path of like your absolute hopes and dreams coming true. It really can. Because that child's validated. And when that child's validated, that creative energy, the passion, the drive, it's just all there. It just flowed through me. When I was writing that book, I was like crying, writing it. I had all these emotions come up because that child was validated. He was heard. And it's like, If one person reads that book and it changes their life, that child's like, that's unreal. That's unreal. That's all I need. So that's as deep as I can as I will go, because that child changed my whole life, because I use that creative energy and that child's energy now to write my blogs and speak like this. It's like that little child's there, like, I'm being heard here. I'm being heard on a worldwide level, and this is fucking cool. So that child's like, fuck yeah, let's fucking go. That's just how it is. That child's with me all the time. He's like, I'm being heard, I'm being seen. Yes, there's some negative stuff coming my way, but it's like there's so many positive, and it always outweighs the negative. And this child's like, fuck yeah, Nathan, keep going. So I'm just like, all right, let's go. It's like, go back to those moments in time, and you can do this too. I'm not sitting here saying I'm the perfect person, I've got the perfect life, but that child's validated. You can validate your child too. So that's my experience inside the system. Yeah, I was always told to ask permission and all that sort of stuff too. It's like, obeying authority. But when COVID happened, COVID, we don't want to talk about it too much. When that happened, it's like it's like the authority figure. It's like, I don't resonate with that. That's not, I was like, how is this not true? And then bang. But yeah, for me, it was just sitting with that child, Tanner, just sitting with that child and just telling him that he is heard, seen, acknowledged, valued, appreciated, and loved. That's my school system.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
How was it for you? How was it for you, man? And yeah, I'm just sharing that because I'm just saying that we can all do this and we can all go back, because the subconscious remembers everything. So
yeah, I mean,
hopefully if someone's listening out there, and it's really powerful, this stuff. But yeah, tell us about your experience with the school system, bro. I'm looking forward to hearing that too.
Yeah, I mean, my school, I think probably the main thing that I think there was a lot of things within the school system that killed, my passion for learning, my creativity.
Yeah, it's what it does, doesn't it? It just kills. Yeah,
exactly. And the book I'm reading, Unschooled, there's a lot of experience of the people who have that, right? Who they get labeled as ADHD because they don't want to be doing the things that they're being forced to do. And so, correct. A lot of my passion, I think I remember I wrote a story. I think I was really big into Star Wars at the time. I wrote like a story about like Ewoks or something, like a village of Ewoks. I met my mom.
Have you still got it?
I don't know. I have to try to see if I could find it. It was on one of my computers. But I stopped writing that because I started getting forced to be writing other things that I didn't want to write, and I just kind of lost my passion. No one told me it was bad or anything. Actually, my mom said it was a good story, but just the schooling system itself forcing me to do things I didn't want to do made me not want to do it more, which is interesting because I think that happens for a lot of people, right? People like to read, and then you start getting forced to read books and history books and things that you don't want to read. And so then in your free time, you don't want to read anymore, right? And so your passion for learning gets just killed. But the major probably traumatic experiences that I had within my schooling that when I look back on it now, actually I hadn't made this connection. Well, I'm sure on some level I knew it, but the times I got bullied within school, I think there was one time when I was in, I think it was second grade, and I got bullied out in recess. Pretty much got made fun of. Actually, no, I guess there's actually 3 different times I think of now. And I got bullied, and that made me doubt, if I was good enough. That's why I have behind me, I am enough. It's been something that's been really powerful for me in my life, because there's been multiple experiences where I start to doubt if I'm good enough. If I doubt if I'm, capable enough, if I'm confident enough to be able to come up and like, if you were to ask me if I was going to be speaking in front of a bunch of people telling this story, I would have laughed at you, right? And just like you, Nathan, actually, I used to stutter a lot. I used to stutter, and I used to get like really nervous. I'd get stuck on certain words, right? And I get made fun of the things I would say too, because I had I guess I'm not sure if it's because I was born in Canada or not, but I would say things different than other people, and I get made fun of for that as well.
Oh, true.
And then my last name, Dagenais. I remember some kids on the on the school like on recess called me like dad I'm gay, or like that's how they would say it, like, oh Tanner, dad I'm gay, or something like that, make fun of me. And you know, sure, some people might think, oh, that's just fun, that's just games, but you know
That
that
hurts though.
for a little kid, that hurts, right? That
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people don't realize you take that with you unless you resolve that and deal with it. You take it with you throughout your life. So, you know, whenever I did have something where I had to go in front of other people, whether it was a class project or there was just like 5, 6 people hanging around, I was the one speaking in front of them, I'd be nervous. I always considered myself that shy kid, which I wasn't a shy kid. It's just I was doubting myself. I didn't think people liked me. I didn't think, you know, that I was good enough. And then I had an experience in middle school. And, you know, that's just reinforced it even further. So, you know, I did have to go back to that little kid as well, the same as you. And I had to tell him he's good enough. I had to work on it. I had to do what I did was a lot of mirror work, looking myself in the, you know, in the mirror and saying, I'm enough. I love you, Tanner. I remember the first time I ever said, I love you, Tanner. It was when I was what, 28 years old with
Yeah.
Jason in our sessions. And he was like, there's this word ceremony that we all do, and you at the very beginning of the session he holds up these powerful phrases and you say them to yourself 3 times. One of those was I love you, Tanner. The first time I came up, I said it, I just got this weird shiver all over my body. I felt super uncomfortable. I was like, what did I just say? I was like, man. And then every time I said it, I felt better and better, you know. And I think that's a really powerful place to be. And a lot, you know, most people, if you say tell yourself I love you, they're like, no, why would I tell myself that, right? Because but at the end of the day, you need to love yourself. If you want to be able to be successful in life, if you want to have a good partner, how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself? How can you expect someone else to love you if you don't even like yourself? Right?
Exactly.
So, and how can you be someone who's going to be changing the world, or someone who's going to be, you know, making moves and becoming more financially successful, building their own side business, whatever it may be, eating healthy food, working out? If you don't love yourself, then that's going to be holding you back. And that is something that, you know, and the reason why I blame the school system for that, some people might just say, oh, it's just, you know, just kids being kids, right?
No,
That's not the way it is. School system, the way that power dynamic we talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, it teaches kids to say, hey, there's a power dynamic in life, right? Someone's always the strong person, someone's the weak person. Someone gets told what to do, someone gets told, and someone listens to it and follows order, right? Kids learn that and they take that same thing out into their life. And then they find to be like, hey, I'm either going to be the person who's in charge, or I'm the person who's going to be being made fun of. I'm going to be the person who's bullying, or I'm the person who's not bullying, right? And then this, on top of that, the school system is destroying your love for learning. It's destroying your passion. It's making you super uncomfortable. And so more kids are likely to lash out and to take that power struggle, right? Like, so in this book, Unschooled, let's see if I can get the lighting right. Unschooled.
There we go.
By Carrie McDonald. There's plenty of examples in this book of bullying, of people with ADHD with quotations around it, people who hated learning, refused to read, refused to write. And then they get out of the school system. And after they go through a deschooling process, they get back into those things. They have a new renewed passion for it. And it's something I think about daily with my 1-year-old. Actually, when I was reading this book, I started crying a bit. And it's because I was thinking about my own experience of being forced into a school system, being forced to do something that I didn't want to do, being forced to, you know, against my will, not go to the bathroom, not, you know, live the life I want to be living, not be with the people I want to be with, right? And being told that, hey, what you're doing is wrong. You have to do it this way. That's really what the school system is, right?
Yes.
And then as a kid, realizing this is what the world is, this is what, you know, my parents sent me here. Nothing against my parents. They're awesome people. They're just doing what most parents are doing, right?
It's what society wants them to do, right?
Exactly. And to be fair, the school system has dramatically changed too, probably since they were in school.
It
Uh,
has.
it has, right? So like,
For the wrong reasons, though.
yeah, it has for the wrong reasons. And when you look at the history of the schooling system, it wasn't always like this. You weren't
No.
always forced to do schooling. You weren't always forced to have an education. You weren't always,
Interesting
and
topic.
yeah, yeah.
Because you look
So
at the old footage, of old schools, Tanner, and you can see the kids on monkey bars hanging for hours. You can see the kids like pulling ropes and
yeah,
like they had their shirts off and they're like doing stuff in the sun and they're like training as well.
yeah,
Not doing much they're being psychologically trained now, but you can see the difference in as it's gone on from generation to generation, can't you? And how this system has like gradually just gotten more worse than what it was originally. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And I think it's all by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
want us to be unhappy. They want us to um be drone bots, to be just order followers. Like we even saw that with the last 3 years, right? You mentioned at the beginning, listen to the science. Well, you know what? I'll give one thing to the school system. I learned the scientific method, and one of the scientific method principles is to, question the science. You don't always trust the science, right? That's the exact part of being a scientist is you question the science. You say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you got this answer. Well, let me try to disprove it. Let me look
Yeah.
into it and see where your flaws were. Let me see if there was any bias."
We used to have debates too. Remember, we used to have did you have debates in school?
I
You'd
think
like
we had
pick
a
a
debate
topic.
class, but I was never
You
in
like
it.
pick a topic, and then you'd have like a group of three, and then you'd have like affirmative and negative. You used to pick like a topic that's going on currently in the world. I highly doubt that they're doing that right now too,
No, I bet you they're probably taking that. Or they're not.
because
Yeah,
I can't see that happening. It's like if they were to pick a topic on the world right now, you'd have positive, and yeah, I can't see that happening. But I'd be intrigued to know if there's still that debate in school where you can argue both points of view, and then it's like the audience make up their own mind. It's like I can't see that happening. I'd love to know if it is, but I know. Did you used to have that sort of, you'd pick a topic, teacher be like, oh, here's a topic about should uniforms be compulsory in school? I remember doing a debate about that, and I was the negative, and I was like, I remember like writing up my speech, and because I had that child that didn't, I remember throwing in the bin and just like, I can't speak that. But my truth was, we shouldn't be wearing uniform. Be wearing whatever we want, and I didn't want to wear shoes either. And it's like I put that all in there, and then I actually threw it in the bin. That's
wow.
interesting right here, right now. I remember that. And I actually rewrote my whole speech just to like please everyone else. But I actually had a really good argumentative point. Oh, yeah, interesting. Something always comes up live for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember actually doing that. I don't know how that just came out. Yeah. Caught me off guard.
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
interesting.
wrote up a speech for a debate about uniform in school, and then I threw it in the bin.
Wow.
And rewrote it, and I knew how good that speech was. I was frozen.
You think it's because
I
you
didn't
were
want to be
worried that
wrong,
you were going to get ridiculed for it, or
probably,
what?
and didn't want to be wrong, didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, and I think even if they did have debates today, if someone actually spoke the truth, they would be told they're wrong, right?
I probably
Actually,
get
I think I
suspended.
saw a video of that where they were talking about something and a kid spoke up. I think it was about, I can't remember what it was about, some like controversial topic that we have. There's so many
Yeah,
today.
there's heaps of them.
Yeah, and they got in trouble. I think they got suspended for a couple of days.
I said that before. I bet
Yeah.
they got suspended. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's just how it happens, Tanner. It's just a crazy, crazy system, isn't it?
Yeah,
You got to punish the ones that are, standing and rising up to just fall back in line.
Mhm.
So they'll label them with ADHD and label them with this and give them medication and all this sort of stuff to just have them conform and fall back into line, back into control.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that kids can't focus; it's that they don't want to focus on the things that you're forcing them to focus on.
Correct. They want to be outside in nature, playing in dirt, Tanner.
Yeah, and what I've at least from what I've read in this book, and this is what, and I'm excited to experience it for myself with my son, because I do plan on going through an unschooling, natural learning, child-led learning approach. because, you know, kids have a natural aptitude for learning. You know, they
They
always say
do.
young kids are like sponges, and then they just like, oh, it just magically goes away. That's not true. It gets fucking drilled out of them. It gets crushed, just like their
As soon
dreams.
as they walk
School system.
through that door
Yep. Mm-hmm.
or that gate, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And kids will continue learning. Kids will continue pursuing something if it's actually something they want to learn. So, you know, what is the solution instead of an like a forced education system where people are forced to learn things they don't want to learn? Have an open ended, and I don't like education at all. I think it should be learning, right? Schooling should just be out of the equation in general, in my opinion. There should
There
be
should be
learning
like more.
centers.
They should be like, yeah, learning centers, and then like they're not authority figures. They're like mentoring
Yeah.
or guiding the children, each child where they.
Friends. Yeah.
It's like we're not going to sit here behind have like a whiteboard here and have crap on it.
Yeah.
It's like they should be like facilitating and guiding and mentoring. They shouldn't have 30 kids in a classroom either. That beggars belief. But anyway, that's another topic for another time. It's like they have the whiteboard there and all the stuff on it. It's like they should be just mentoring and facilitating each child in what they want to do, and then they help that child get there.
Yeah.
Not program them to be like, little John needs to be a doctor. That's how you become a hero, is be a doctor. It's like, well, ask him the question, little Johnny, how would you like to be a hero? What are your thoughts on that? Ask them the question, get them to be like, this is what I want to be and what I want to do. Don't sit there and say you need to go to uni and have a good education. And these are all the careers that have the university education. This is what you need to do. It's like, what if little Johnny just wants to be a truck driver or something? It's like, let little Johnny make up his own mind instead of just like, I remember when I tell you another story about my schooling system too. People might want to resonate with this. When I was in high school, in my local town, we started, they brought in like a sports school, like an alternative school to year 11 and 12. So year 11 and 12 here is like the big last year of school's we call it year 11 and 12, the last 2 years of school.
Yeah.
Right? So I was in year 10 and I didn't want to go to the senior school. I had enough. I didn't want to do it. And then one of my friends at that school was like, oh, I'm going to this Cedar school next year, the sports school. I'm like, this is interesting. Like we did like a Cert 3 and a Cert 4 in sport and recreation, got all these qualifications, all these awesome things. I'm like, this is a lot better than that. Mm-hmm. So then I put in that application. My family were on board, which was great. And I actually ended up going to this sports school in year 11 and 12. I actually did 3 years and an extra year. I did like a diploma of event management, diploma of sport development. It was, mate, this thing was phenomenal. But then the government came in and crushed it, basically. It's basically a school now. Yeah, so there's this backstory. There's basically a school now. It's like an accredited school, but back then it was just like a program. And we did like clinics at school. We did like kicking the footy. We did like sports clinics and ran sports days, umpired sports days, did all these awesome things. And I was loving it. And it was so much better than what everyone else was doing in their school. But I remember the conversation I had with my year 10 pathways person, the lady that sort of like tells you what you need to do and stuff. And I said, look, I'm not, she's like, oh, we all had to have a meeting with her to be like, are you going to which senior school are you going to go to? And I sat there in front of her and I was like, I'm not going to the senior high school. I'm going to this sports school. And she was like, what do you mean? Because the school would get kickbacks from the government as to how many kids were going to the senior school. So she was coming at it from a money point of view. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not going. And she's like, why not? And I said, well, I don't want to do senior school. I don't want to do that. I want to do this sports program. This is like, for me, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And she's like, no, you're going to senior. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to senior. And then my mom, I think they read my parents and they're like, he's not going to senior. He's not going to that school. So I went to the sports school and they like begrudgingly tried to get me to not go. They're like, oh, you're not getting a real education. You're not going to be able to go to uni. Even though I actually ended up going to uni, I actually got a backdoor entry to uni. I wouldn't have got the score needed to do what I wanted to do originally if I hadn't gone to the sports school. So I thought I was supposed to go there because my parents are like, he's not going to that. He's not going to that school. He's doing the sports program. And the school were like, hounding it until I finished year 10 and just went, no. And I obviously got in as well. I just went, and I had the best 3 years, met some awesome friends, and, that's where I sort of started the drinking and stuff. But it's like I had a really awesome time in that sports school. And it's like that was alternative. And then the last few years, because my brother went as well, in the last few years, the government came in, they cut the funding because we were doing like outdoor ed stuff. We're going kayaking and canoeing and rock climbing and going on the snow and doing all these awesome things. And it was like sort of like government fund, but not really. And then the government came in and said, oh, you need to be more curriculum and structured based. So then they wiped most of the stuff I did, and now it's basically like a school structure. They're still doing their sports clinics and stuff, but it's sort of like more of a structured type school. Whereas I was only going to school for like 3 days a week, and then for the next 2 days was a day off, and one of them was a clinic day. We go to school and run a clinic. It was like phenomenal. And then the government came in and said, they got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
So, because the bigger it's like anything, the bigger the school got, the more popular it got, the more the government clamped down on it and said they need to be more of a. Essentially, you start something alternative like that, and the government come in and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. But yeah, I had an awesome time, and it's like that 16-year-old version was like being told he can't go to that. He needs to do. I was like, nah. I was very grateful that my parents and my family were like on board with it, because that program was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. Yeah. That's a perfect example of like a kid who wants to do something and they do it and they love it and they pursue it and they enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I got a backdoor entry, like I wanted to be a teacher, and I got into that and did the system stuff. And yeah, it's like that school helped me. Like, how I said to you before that I wasn't really one to speak up and stuff, like that school helped me talk in front of children, and like it just helped my growth by being in that. It wasn't really a school, mate. It was like a sports program. It was phenomenal. And it actually helped me, like some of the stuff I learned there, and I still do now. Like it's a system-based thing, but like I learned so much from just by being there. Like it actually helped me be able to like make friends. And like when I was in school, I didn't really have many friends. I wasn't really that way inclined. But then when my confidence just grew. Yeah, I'm really grateful for my time I had at that school. But it's not really a school now. It's actually a school now. But yeah, I'm grateful for my time there.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I wish I would have had something like that too.
Yeah, everyone I talk about, Tanner, like when I just tell them about my history and what school I went to, and they're like, "Oh, what did you do in senior school?" And I said, "I did that." Everyone's like, "Oh, I wish I had done that." Like as soon as I was going, and like my brother and my parents saw how like transformed I was confident again, and I found my passions. They were still system-based passions, but they were my passions. It's like my brother's like, I've got to go too. But they started changing the school or the program when my brother went. It wasn't what it was. But mate, that changed my life going to that school. That brought me out of my shell to then now be like, sit here and do this. Like if you had told me at 15 I was going to be talking in front of 300 kids running a cricket or a soccer event, I'd be like, woof. I spoke in front of like a whole school and like ran an event, and it was just it helped me come out of my shell. So yeah, very grateful for that program, but it's not what it is, not what it used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know why that came up, but we're going deep today. But
awesome.
I had a really good time there. Yeah, we shared it. It's good.
Yeah, that's a great thing to share. I think that's like a perfect example too of like how the forced school system doesn't really work. But if you go into like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having classes or having things like that, as long as the kids aren't forced to do it if they don't want to. Let them sign up for what they want to do. Let them do what they want to do.
With this program, I signed up to do exactly what I wanted to do. Exactly. So I was doing what I love. So we're doing so instead of like normal mainstream maths, we were like doing sport maths. It was like, if there was 13 goals, it's like if there was 13 goals kicked in a soccer game and then the other team kicked 12, how many, like sports-based maths. And then we were like designing our own like sport fields and using like area perimeter and stuff. Like we were like doing sports-based learning. So it's like, how can we incorporate sport into maths and in English? And like I was back writing about footy and cricket and all this. It was like that little child was like, oh God, I love this. But then I went to uni and that sort of crushed that again. But it was like it was sports-based learning. I loved my sport as a kid. So that sort of like, yeah, like designing our own sport facilities. How much would it cost? What's the budget? You know, like it was actually really, really good. It was such an awesome program, but then the government ruined it like they ruined everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. That really sounds awesome. Like that's the kind of experience I want to build for my son, right? Where something
it's like he can still do his maths and his English, but like tailor it to be like, well, what's he passionate about? And like do maths with that.
Yeah, I mean, maths all over the place, right? Just like you're talking about. Oh, you're interested in soccer? Okay, then what's the diameters of the soccer field? Right? Oh, you're interested in soccer? Okay, how many goals, whatever. Like you can add those things into it, and it's
still maths.
And not force them to do it. They can be interested, like, hey, I learned this myself. And that is where the big difference is. That's where you don't kill someone's learning, but you foster it. Right.
Yeah, correct. So, and that's what that sport program was. It was fostering our learning, but then as soon as the government got wind of it getting so big, they're like clamping on it. And now it's just not what it used. It's a shell of what it used to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. I know there's some like learning centers where like the idea behind it, like in America that I've been reading about. I actually have to check to see if there's something in South Carolina because I've been interested to let my son go to one. It's a totally open, free, right? Kids can go and come as they
like
please.
A bush kinder.
I guess this. Yeah, let's talk about what your bush thing is right after this. So like the learning center is exactly this is what it is. Like they have a bunch of supplies. They have 3D printers. They have classes they run. They have books. They have computers. They have all these resources. So if you want to do something, you can do it. You're not forced to do anything. They run classes. If no one comes, then it's okay. But kids go to them because they want to do it, right? So it's just like an open learning environment. You can go there, you can sit there and just chat with friends all day if you want. You can sit there and you can go read a book if you want all day. You can go there, you can go play some video games all day. You can go there and do whatever, right? They find that kids don't just sit there playing video games only all day. They don't just sit there goofing off all day. They end up learning because they want to learn, but they find something that they're interested in. So I'm interested in hearing more about because I know we've talked about this a couple of times. Your vision for your Bush school. What would
it's very similar to that. It's very similar to that. It's allowing the children to learn naturally. They're not going to be told to read at 9 a.m. and then do maths at 3. It's like if you want to read, what would you like to read? And read it. I don't care if it's a book about ants. Go and read it. We're not going to all read as a class a book about kids don't want to read that shit. Like I know we used to do like novels as kids and we used to like all read as a class together. It's like I wasn't interested in that story. I want to read something else. So it's like if you want to read, read. If you want to write, write. And it's like, and I'll tell them too. I'll be like, when I was at school and I was told I couldn't write what you're about to write, that crushed me. So why don't you go away and you write whatever the freaking hell you want to write and have fun doing it. You can write a comic book. You can write a story. I don't care what you write about. You can write about fairies and mermaids and demons and angels. I don't care as long as you're writing something. If you're not writing something, why aren't you writing? Is there something going on there? Like we can help them process their emotions and help them understand where these feelings come from. But you can only do so much. You got to help the parents too. And I want the parents to be part of this too. Like they're doing their healing as well. So it's like a retreat plus a school, like a community.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, like when I think about like one teacher teaching all those kids,
it's not. It's like a whole group of people like just coming together.
Well, I meant for like school itself. When I think about that,
it's not a school. It's like a relearning center. There's not just one person. Like it's not just me standing there going, "Oh, this is what we're doing today." It's like, well, there's all of us. We're like, how can we help you? What would you like to do today? Do you want to go outside and play? Kick your shoes off and go outside and play if that's what you want to do. Tell me what you're doing though. Go outside and do it. If you want to. It's like you get forced to read. So you know how when kids can't read? It's because they're not ready to read. They don't want to read yet. And I heard you with that story that Paul said, and it's in that Jane Evans book. It's like her kids didn't read till they're 8 years old, 9 or 10 years old because they were ready to read. They're like, they picked up a book and started reading it. Because they were also learning about their spiritual side too. And that's the sort of thing I want to teach too. It's like, well, you want to go outside and play in the dirt? Well, who's playing with you?
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And it's an environment where society's like deeming this stuff as woo-woo. Well, in this environment, it's not woo-woo. So you can tell us what you see, because little Johnny, I can see them too, brother. So tell me, and I want to know, what can you see? I'm excited for you. It's like that energy of mine. Like, I'm happy for them to see that. They'll be like, oh, mate, saw an angel last night. Had a dream about a demon. I'll be like, fuck yeah. Tell me more. Well, no, I'm not going to say fuck yeah, but I'm going to say shit yeah. Or I'm going to say, tell me more. I had a dream about an angel last night too. It was my guardian angel who came to me and said, Nathan, we love you. And I'm like, tell me more. Tell me everything. What do you see? Do you see my grandfather standing here with me? I know he's here. Can you see him? I can see him. Can you see him? Can you see? Can you see the massive 16-foot beings that are with me? Can you see aliens? Can you see this stuff? I would like to know if you can, because little Johnny, I can see him too, mate. So tell me. That's the environment I want. It's like tapping into that spiritual side and being like, well, I'm just a soul having a human experience. I'll show you how to have a human experience as a soul. I can tell you about, if they want to learn about reincarnation and learn about the soul journey, which I'm sure they will, it's like, well, I'll help you learn about that. And from my experience, how I awoken, you can learn from me. It's like a two-way street. It's not me hammering home on the whiteboard lecturing about the soul journey. The kid wants to learn about it. We'll provide that space to learn about it. And it's like, okay, and they get to a certain age, the parents are there, they want to learn about the sacred act of sex. It's the parents are involved. It's like, okay, it's a creation and a making of love. It's not what you're programmed that sex is. It's not a casual one-night fling and then you're on the next one. It's a sacred thing. And the boys that need to learn, boys, that stuff inside you creates life. Imagine if you could hold on to that energy and create your life. How cool would that be? This is how you do it. You know, we don't look at porn on the screen. We don't just get rid of that energy. We can harness and transmute that energy into our everyday lives. And instead of creating a new life or a new human, you're creating a new life, but a new human version of you with that energy. And then it's like they want you to deplete you of that energy. Why do they want you to be depleted? Well, this is why. This is why all the porn and that's here. They don't want men harnessing that energy to create life. It's like I can educate those kids and be like, well, this is how you can create your own life through that energy, and that energy can create a new life. And that's real sexual education. And this is why I want to get Nicola on, Tanner, one day. We can have a chat about this stuff. Because my journey with this harnessing of the sexual energy, I'm like a little kid at school wanting to share this information with the whole world.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's like, that's the school I want to build. And it's then like, oh, the female, like they're, you know, our groinal area is pretty powerful. Well, theirs is equally as powerful, because that bursts in your life. That's a pretty powerful force down there, women. It's just as powerful as the men's groinal region. So it's like, let's learn about how powerful that organ is, or that part of our body is, instead of learning about how to put a condom on a banana.
Yeah.
I'm sure you sat at sex education, Tanner, like I did in grade 9 or 10, learning how to put a condom on a banana, learning how to put plastic on your doodle. That is not healthy. Mm-hmm. And then you can teach women that their cycles are like natural. Yeah. And you can only get pregnant 4 days a month. It's like,
oh man, we
have like a female there telling the children this. You can only get pregnant 4 days a month. If you know and understand your body, then you won't need to put a condom on a banana. Like, this is the sort of thing. It's like the kids can learn about how powerful their human vessel is, because fuck me, it's powerful.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that, man. And especially the part about teaching. This is something me and my wife have been talking about a lot too. It's like people have been programmed so much, like, oh, I'm just gonna get pregnant at random. Like, you know, it's actually a lot harder to get pregnant than you think it is. There's only so much. You only have a period, you know, like a 4-day period, like you're talking about, to get pregnant. And
Yep.
one like I never heard anything about that when I was in
Neither did
sexual
I,
education.
actually.
I don't think anyone's taught about that this because they're trying to push on the condoms, the birth control, the
Yeah, it's birth
toxic birth
control.
control on all these women. Like my wife got put on birth control when she was really young for acne,
Oh no.
and that was the main reason why. Are you serious? Like, and
How's that
that
going to fix acne?
it's apparently it suppresses your hormones, so it does
Yeah.
things like that. And so it's just like women are being put on that stuff so early. It's
It's
terrible.
getting earlier too.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to go back real quick to your bush goals. I love that
You're
idea.
right.
And the point I was bringing up was not that like you would be a teacher in front of. I was thinking about like the school education system.
It's like a
Like, in general,
facilitator.
and like comparing it to yours. And I love the idea that you'd be open with having the parents there because it's not just one person who can teach all these kids, right? It has to be a community.
It's a
And
community. Yeah.
you have to bring it around to the parents, the grandparents, to the people like the people running businesses, like bring them around and expose them
You
to
can't
different people.
just work on the children and not have the parents doing the work too. It's like the kids are working out their stuff. It's like the parents can work out their stuff, and you can like heal that DNA ancestral line by having the parents and the kids involved. Like this system right now, the parents are at work every day. They're not involved in their child's learning or their development.
Yep.
So it's like if we have this community, and the parents are front and center, they're sitting down with the kids too, learning, or not sitting down. They could be standing up. I actually don't care if they're standing up or sitting down. Doesn't worry me. They can do it. They can do what they want. We shouldn't be sitting down obeying authority, so they can stand up. We can be like a group healing circle. Yeah, we'll sit down around a fire and just like talk about this stuff. That's sort of what I want to do. Feel like a fire. We can all like put our stuff in there and then just blow it out. That's the healing circle. It's like that's probably what it will be. It'll be a healing circle. And it's not going to be me or someone else standing there lecturing, obeying authority. It's like, no, we'll all just sit in a circle and let's have a deep chat. And that's where you learn the most about, and you can learn about people's journeys. And that's the sort of thing. It's like, it's not necessarily a classroom. It's just like, we'll just be outside making fires and just having a chat about life, about our journey, about how we can all help each other grow. That's natural learning there, mate.
Definitely. I love it. That's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, the world definitely needs it. And I think parents need it just as well. Because like that's what I think about every day with my son, right? Is
absolutely,
how are my things going to be influencing my son?
Yeah.
How are the things that maybe I haven't resolved yet? I've worked on myself a lot, but I'm by no means perfect, right? It's all about progression. But every time I think I'm close to being resolved with everything, something new comes up. Something new that I wasn't ready for before comes up. So I think it's really important if you are a parent, you're listening to this, you have your kid in the school system, to really consider what you want for your child and how you're influencing your child with your own life and your own resolved traumas, and look at ways to resolve those and to address those. One powerful way could be to reach out for help. Both me and Nathan, we help others really address those unresolved childhood traumas.
But that's another thing from the school system too. Well, that's more of a society thing, isn't it? Not to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of people out there see what we're doing and look at what we're doing. They just don't make that final step. It's like, you can make that final step, reach out and ask for help. Because I wouldn't be here talking like this and shared what I've shared today, which if I didn't ask for help from someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think asking for help was my biggest catalyst for change in my life as well.
But I don't know about you, Tanner, but it took me a long time to actually sit and ask for help, though.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I saw stuff, I probably had a lot of opportunities to ask for other people for help, but I kept pushing it off, thinking, no, I can do it myself. No, things will get better.
Yeah, it's like you're programmed to believe you can do it all yourself, but actually, like, that little guidance, that little bit of help can actually trajectory, like, it can push you forward like quickly. I learned that pretty quick too, that, you're programmed to do all this stuff yourself, but it's like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable, and when you come into a session with us, yeah, you learn some things, but you learn the things that you're living out. You learn your programs and your patterns and all these things to help. We then help you transform into the best version of you that you can be. But to be that best version of you, you've got to let go of what you put in the questionnaire, which is all the stuff that you've been carrying around for God knows how long. But we can show you how to let all of that go to then transform to the end of the questionnaire where you're manifesting what you want in this life. It's like we help you let go of all the shit that's holding you back to get to the end. And that's your journey. And that is the most beautiful thing we offer, Tanner, is that at the end of the questionnaire, you go through all of the darkness, all of the stuff you've been carrying around. You get to the end of the questionnaire and it's like, what do you want? What do you dream about? What would you do with $1 million? What would you do with $10 million? It's like you're manifesting your dream. But then you're going back and letting go of all of that stuff. All of that stuff's holding you back. That child, that da-da-da-da. And then you're getting to the end and you're going, well, this is how you get there. You get there by letting go of all the programs, all the negativity, all the fear, all the guilt, all the shame, to then get to the dream. That's how you do it. And we show you how to do it. The tools that have helped us. It's like there's so many more. It's like, you find what works for you and just progression, not perfection. But if you're after a session with one of us, we can help you literally live the life of your dreams, and it can be so quick because we'll share with you our journey. And I know for you, mine was super quick. Like I said to you before, I wrote that book in six weeks. It's like you can do that too because you are just as powerful and you are just enough as I am and just as worthy as I am and just as worthy as anyone else here. You are super powerful as well. And I want anyone out there that's listening and watching to just remember how powerful they are.
Yep. Yep.
Because once you do remember how powerful you are, no one's ever going to take that power away from you again. Not at all.
Yeah. Remember, you're enough.
Yeah.
You're not lesser than other people. You're not.
I think it's great, Tanner. I think it's great that you and I can sit here and talk openly and honestly and be absolutely vulnerable. Like there was some stuff that came up for me during this chat that I was like, caught me off guard, but I went with it anyway. It's like we sit here to be able to inspire others, and I hope anyone out there is listening is somewhat inspired by what we've shared today because it's pretty fucking powerful what we just shared. Then that was awesome.
I totally agree, man. And I do want to touch point on just I think it's not only just like the sharing with that questionnaire, but just the information that we do teach you allows you to take that information and those techniques going forward every day of your life, right? So you have that's what I love about what we learn and what we teach to other people is that it's stuff you use every single day, right?
Yeah.
You learn about how the most powerful part of your mind works. You learn about how you learn, how your mind learns, why you're influenced, how you're programmed, right? And how society is influencing you. And that I think is really powerful because once you learn that and learn how you can actually reprogram yourself and protect yourself from the negative influences of society, which let's be honest, there's a lot, then you start to be like, okay, well, I'm no longer a victim. I'm no longer a victim to the school system. I'm no longer a victim to the system in general. I'm no longer a victim to the negative mindset, to my negative programs. I'm now in control. I'm now much more powerful. I can create my own reality. So I think that's a really powerful place to be. And I do want everyone to know that, you are enough. You can create your own reality. You don't have to be living a job that that you hate or working a job that you hate. You don't have to be living in pain every single day. That's not normal, no matter how much everyone else is doing it, no matter how much society has told you it is. It's not normal to just be living with your pain unresolved. It's not normal to be feeling like a failure, to be feeling like you're not enough. And I don't say that to make you feel bad. I say that to say, hey, there's a way forward. There's a way to be living your best life. There's a way to be enjoying your life and be waking up feeling amazing. To be waking up and enjoying your days, looking forward to doing whatever you're going to be doing throughout that day. And an easy way to get to that point is just to reach out and hop on a Zoom call with us. So, I'm always thankful and grateful to have you on and just speaking with you, Nathan.
Likewise, mate.
Always good talks. Always, we always go deep. We always talk some good stuff and get personal, which I just love.
Yep.
So, if you guys are listening, give us a like, shoot a subscribe, share it around, and shoot us a comment. And
that was a special conversation today, Tanner. I'm very grateful we were able to have that today. That's a very special conversation. So I hope a lot of people are feeling more inspired to change.
Awesome. Well, Tanner,
thank you
Nathan,
for that today. I really appreciate that. That was that was special.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. It was I love talking about that. I had a feeling before we met him. I was like, we're gonna talk about the school system. It's gonna go real good.
Yeah. It was just a really awesome chat. I'm really grateful for that one. So I hope a lot of people can feel more inspired, I guess. And always reach out. We're always here. So
yep, definitely.
That was awesome, mate. Thank you so much for that.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah.